Howdy ho, welcome to our podcast, Dirty King Basser, episode 6.
6 already.
6, we're flying through these,
Flying
aren't
through
we?
these.
Yeah.
Soon be 100.
I will. If we're not dead by then. Go on then.
Get comfortable.
I'm comfy. I'm going to turn this heating off.
Right, shall we kick off? That's a good idea, it's quiet now. Shall we kick off with a little story from somebody else? Because that makes our work
Yeah,
easier,
it does, doesn't it? Yeah.
Now, this one doesn't need to remain anonymous. He sent it to me, right? He's not even acknowledged you. It's my mate Matthew. Good lad, I like Matthew. Hi Ben. That's it. No Tony.
It's alright. He's not on my Christmas card
Right,
list.
hang on. Podcasts. I'm interrupting my story here, but I've listened to other podcasts, and they have staff.
Staff?
They have staff.
Do they?
Right.
What do you mean they have staff?
Right. I jotted it down. Let me find my notes.
Who has staff?
Right, hang on.
We're in a shed. There's no room for staff. Where would we put them? Do they have like big men with ostrich feather fans? Or what do we mean by staff here?
Come back to you, Matthew. Bear with us. Editor.
There's an editor.
That's me.
That's you.
That's me.
So
right?
you're the editor.
I'm an editor, right? Producer.
That's you.
I'm
You're producer.
Right. T-boy.
That's you.
Or in our case, coffee.
You make
right?
coffee. That's you.
Yeah. So,
What am I?
this is what I started to think. You need to earn your bloody keep here.
I do.
Go on.
I am king. I am
king.
I am your king.
What fetches a coffee?
Go get us a coffee, peasant.
You managed to screw up last one by turning heater on at end of podcast.
I managed to screw this one up by turning it off at the beginning.
Yeah. So, good podcasts have staff.
Right.
And that might be the key.
Maybe we aren't
We're
a good
not a good
podcast.
podcast, yeah.
I don't
'Cause,
know.
somebody says to me, you need a jingle.
We don't need. We've got our sheep.
That tells me
We've got
that
Dorothy.
he didn't even listen 4 seconds
He
to
hasn't,
the
has
beginning.
it? He hasn't, because we've got a jingle and it's Dorothy the sheep.
Because I countered him and said, well, we actually need listeners as well.
Actually, do you know what?
Something else
I
we
need
don't
to
have.
take Dorothy back up to North Ourham, don't I? Before they notice she's
Out
missing.
back of your car.
Yeah.
Because the good start again. Good I can't fucking say it.
I don't think we need to edit this out. I think it's funny that you've forgotten how to talk.
What were in that coffee? Good podcasts. There, we got it out. I don't know why I said it, because we're not it. Have content, humour, wit, and entertainment, equipment, and a budget. Right? I jotted that down.
Do they?
Yeah.
We haven't got a budget.
We've got equipment.
We've got a bit of equipment.
We've got a whole microphone.
That's good. Entertainment.
It's entertained me.
I've enjoyed it. I don't care whether anybody else does.
So yeah, that.
Maybe we'll never be a good podcast.
We're told by 2 people they like the bar.
Well, everybody likes
So-
a bar. It's a shame they're all shut.
Yeah. So Dorothy's got a job.
Dorothy's got a job.
She does more than you at this
Apparently
point.
Tony's redundant. Oh well.
And a plug, I have to say, to Jackson Lake, who is the lad
musician.
who let me pinch his bit of guitar intro there for us.
What a nice lad. Saved us infringing anyone's copyright.
And I don't even remember if I said this on podcast before, but I'm going to say it again. I've got respect for the lad. He had a reasonably well-paying job, and he fucking hated it. So he left to do what his dream was, to be a musician and make music and albums, and he did it. And I'm going to take my hat off to him for somebody just following that art. It was beautiful to watch, and he's a nice lad. So
I wish him all the best, and do you know what? More people should do that. I'm very fortunate. I've never had a job I hated. I've always enjoyed my work, and I think that's a big part of life. If you can get that right, you know, it's important. You know, I'm never going to be somebody who's getting home from work. Well, obviously because I live above my shop, but I'm never going to be someone who gets home from work and is depressed because he's had a shitty work day.
Yeah,
You know, I'm lucky like that, and I realise how lucky I am. You know,
so that
but you know, fair play.
Big respect to Jackson Lake. Look him up on Spotify. Jackson Lake.
Sounds like a place in Florida.
It does, doesn't it? He
Yeah.
makes country music.
We listen to both kinds of music here, country and western.
So you might like that. So there we go. Anyway, sorry, Matthew. I'm going to come back to your story now. Hi, Ben.
Go
Ben,
on,
that's me.
Yeah.
Right. Editor, producer, T-boy, runner. Thought I would share you a little story about a discovery I made at a hotel I frequented whilst working away. As I currently work as a mobile service engineer, I travel to both ends of the UK and spend a lot of time staying at an array of different hotels.
Well, Matthew, if I were your boss, I'd make you sleep in van.
From the luxury of the Carnoustie Golf Resort in Scotland to sleeping on bunk beds in a pub in Dingwall. However, despite staying in a few choice establishments, nothing quite compared to what I came across at one particular hotel I stayed at whilst training in Birmingham. I'd only been in my job for about 6 months and was in Birmingham doing some product training. As the day wore on, I realised I needed to book a hotel. So I put in my location and up popped a selection of hotels to choose from. Being a Yorkshireman, I opted for the £30 a night B&B on the banks of the Birmingham Waterway.
Sounds good to me.
Also, it was next to the training centre. At the end of the day, I left with everyone else who had opted not to stay at the same hotel despite its location. Unbeknown to me, the place I was staying at had a bit of a reputation, if you know what I mean. We don't know what it means yet, do we?
I have an idea. I'm a man of the world.
It might be a place that rents rooms by the hour, maybe.
Yeah, possibly.
I checked in as normal and went to my room. And they started the timer going. As you can imagine, it was what you'd expect. Dirty carpet, covered in stains, heating that didn't work, but the aircon did, and a shower that was constantly scalding hot.
Better than being cold.
Yeah, sleeping shower. After making myself comfortable, I went to the restaurant for a fine meal of steak and chips. It was only when I started to look around and I noticed a room full of older gentlemen, and let's say, younger men. So this is in training. Matthew would have looked like one of those younger men at this point. So shall we see if he gets approached?
Shall we see if he gets bummed?
How fucking childish are we really? That's me. I quickly ate my tea and exited the bar and headed back to my room. Now, one thing I always do when I stay at a hotel is to pull back the sheets and make the necessary checks, clean the cups and spoons. But what I'd never done before is check the kettle before making a brew. In this hotel, the taps in the bathroom were the large mixer type, so there was no way the nozzle of the kettle would fit under. Therefore, I had to take the lid off in order to fill it up.
Or fill the cup. Come on, mate. Problem solving.
What I came across changed the way I make a brew in every hotel I stay at now. Your face is a picture. Floating in some already stale water was a bright used condom neatly tied at the end.
Oh, a jellyfish. Why have they put it in kettle?
Maybe they've tried flushing it
A
first
bright-
and it won't go.
A bright... Was it a luminous French tickler?
Needless to say, I didn't have a cup of tea or coffee that night. I gently took myself off to bed, fully clothed, I must add, slept there on top of the sheets until the following day.
Ugh.
So given the clientele down at dinner, that hotel's not only full of jizz, it's been up somebody's bum.
Well,
Obviously the next morning I took the kettle to the reception and showed them what I'd found. I wasn't surprised that they weren't shocked about what they said.
a regular occurrence. Oh, it's
Not
that.
another.
It's that. Yeah. Oh, brilliant.
Dirty Kimbasses.
Jesus Christ. Somebody, though, probably gets off on thinking that someone's drinking his condom juice.
Melted rubber jizz condom coffee.
This,
Nice.
this tea tastes a bit funny. You never get a good brew, do you? When you go to another part of the world, right? Because I mean, we're lucky around here. We've got Yorkshire water, comes soft water off the Pennines.
There's Yorkshire water and there's incorrect.
Yeah,
You know?
and we have Yorkshire tea. And whenever you go anywhere else, you know,
It's
I mean,
shite.
to be honest, you go to East Yorkshire and it's shit.
Yeah.
You know, South Yorkshire, shit. You got to be in West or North Yorkshire for good brew, haven't you?
Yeah, yeah.
Anywhere else in the world makes a shit cup of tea.
Similarly,
And it's because probably they've got condoms in the kettles.
Similarly, outside of Halifax, shit fish and chips. You know?
I'll be honest, do you know what people rave about? Oh, let's go to the seaside for fish and chips.
Worst.
It's not as good as Halifax.
No, worst
Yeah,
fish and chips.
yes.
I don't get why that's seaside. Anyway, sorry, Matthew. We'll get
Go
to
on,
you
back
through
to
your
Matthew,
story
yeah.
eventually. They apologise and offer me free accommodation
Where?
with 2 kettles at any of their other hotels, as well as a free meal. Free meal.
Yeah.
As this was the only compensation available, I accepted it and went about my day.
You get a free meal, Matthew, but you've got to like cock pie.
That afternoon, I checked my phone and found that I had a missed call and voicemail from the offending hotel. On listening to the message, I was informed by a senior member of management that the receptionist didn't have the authority to offer me free accommodation and meal, and the best they could do was 5% off my next visit. And it had to be at the same place. Needless to say, I've never been back. I think you should bloody name and shame them. That's
I think you
disgraceful.
should, yeah. I think you should.
Anyway, hope this is okay, and it might open the door for other listeners to send theirs in.
If anybody wants to know which hotel it is to avoid, I suggest you Google cottaging Birmingham.
And what did it say? Southampton? No, Birmingham Waterway or something, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Let me go scroll back.
Actually, to be fair, I don't know if you know this, but everywhere in Birmingham's near a waterway because there are more canals in Birmingham than there are in Venice.
Is that right?
Well, it's a big intersecting junction from the Industrial Revolution, isn't it?
So, it'd be easy to find. It's in Birmingham, next to Waterway, near a training centre, and it's full of old men and young boys.
Yeah.
With condoms in kettles. Narrow it down a bit.
Yeah.
So thanks for that, Matthew. It's nice to get a embarrassment
So
of
what
somebody
we
else.
don't know is if anybody approached him.
He didn't confess to that,
Did
he?
he?
I mean, he did...
He did sleep alone though, didn't he?
So he says.
Sounds like it.
So he says.
Yeah.
So yeah, cheers for that, Matthew. That was a good
Yeah.
do.
I do. People. Are people weird?
What the fuck is wrong?
Wait,
What's going through your mind putting
Last
that in there?
episode we had Tractor Fuck Boy, and now we've got Kettle Condom Boy. What's going on here?
Set of dirty king bastards.
Yeah. Mankind.
I've another question for you this podcast.
Alright.
After your cutlery savagery.
I'm not a savage.
Luddite.
I'm not a Luddite.
Right. Apparently...
I'm a bit of a Luddite.
Apparently, about half of people sit to wipe their ass and other half stand. And I say apparently because you don't stand there and watch somebody wipe their ass. So half of these people
Right.
are unaware of the other half doing this.
I'm
I'm a
bottom,
sitter, right? I'm going to say I'm a sitter.
My bottom was once very muscular,
Give us a squeeze. Let's
quite
check it out.
athletic. You could crack walnuts with my ass cheeks, you know. It's not now. It's evaporated. I don't even know where it's gone. I don't even have.
fatted
I don't
it
even
away.
have buttocks. I just have legs now. I look like a badly drawn cartoon character. I don't know when this happened, but it crept up on me overnight, and one day I just woke up and I'm now not the Adonis I used to be. I would say I always sit, and the reason is if I stand up, my bum cheeks go close, and then you're gonna like.
Well, that's
make
what
a
puzzles
mess.
me with it.
So,
Surely,
sit while your buttocks are spread. You know, you listening, Matthew? Judging by the establishments Matthew's gone to, he likes spread buttocks. But yeah, so that's that. But do you know what got me? There was an advert on the television. Well, you probably remember it about toilet paper, and it asked the question: do you fold or do you scrunch?
Who's scrunchy?
Who the fuck scrunches? You know? Do you remember that? I don't know which
No,
brand
I
it
don't
was for.
remember that. I'm just like,
But-
straight to
but-
who the fuck scrunchy.
This,
Yeah,
like now, I fold.
as you should.
Economical as well. I don't, you know, especially with bog roll shortages we've had with all bloody lunatics around.
I'm in Yorkshire. I tear them into quarters.
I have the kids sat by candlelight cutting them into 1 inch squares. But yeah, who on earth scrunches?
Yeah, so from
You
two,
don't to then
from two
shove it
sitting
up their
folders,
ass.
Are they stippling it away?
You
or
know,
what?
I tell you who scrunches. The kind of person that leaves a fucking used condom in a kettle. That's who bloody scrunches. Weirdos.
So from two sitting
But-
folders, who the fuck is
Right,
standing
yeah, but-
and stippling?
And scrunching.
Yeah, scrunching.
And on top of that, who on earth, at a toilet paper manufacturer, goes into the board meeting and says, I've had this ace idea for an advert. Let's start this worldwide debate about scrunching and folding. Oh, by the way, scrunching's not actually a thing. It's only me that does it. You know?
Bizarre. I'll
yeah.
tell you what they've been doing. They've been watching a decorating program. These shit decorating programs. When you go, I ain't got enough paint to finish that wall. I'll stipple it, so I only use 20% of paint. And then they've gone, I could do that to my ass.
I don't watch shit decorating programmes. I watched a programme once and they were selling houses. And apparently what you got to do to sell an house,
I'll paint it white.
paint it magnolia apparently.
Yeah.
Got to paint it all, everything's got to be... And then people get a blank canvas,
Yeah, yeah.
you know.
My granddad used to rant about that, and he says, all modern houses, just painted white, he said, they all look like bloody VD clinics.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Love it.
Venereal disease.
Venereal
Disease, yeah.
Beautiful.
I believe we've been researching my family history, and my great grandfather died of syphilis.
Right.
Probably brought back from First World War. I don't know how he got it.
I can tell you how we got it.
Or where he got it from is the... But yeah, apparently so.
Right.
Dirty King Basser.
Little tinker. Do you want to read out Jeff's story?
Go on then, let's have a read of Jeff's story.
Right. Professional, hang on.
Jeff's a mate of mine, a lovely fella. He's a barfly in a pub I frequent.
I don't know if he said keep it anonymous, but it's Jeff. So
Jeff.
There's plenty Jeffs. There we go.
Okay, Jeff. Thanks for sending this in. Hi, chaps. This is Jeff. I know Tony from the Flying Horse in Rochdale and other premium drinking establishments. We're going to be getting a reputation here as a bar.
Does he know you, or does he just know that public face that you put out?
No, he knows me.
Okay.
He knows me, don't he? He's a good lad. One of the best is Jeff. I've been enjoying your podcasts. And although
So he's a liar, right?
Although this doesn't include explosive bowel movements, perhaps you'll be able to use it. I grew up in inner city Manchester.
Manchester.
Is
it at Trafford Centre?
Mad for it, cool. And when I was young, my family was not particularly well off. This is the story of just one of the events that took place. In around 1978, my dad came home with a washing machine. Wow. No more trips to the laundrette for us. Oh no. A brand new Hot Point washing machine. In its box was ours to use. Fantastic. And in those days, Hot Point were British, weren't they? Made in England.
A lot of things were made in England then,
Not
weren't they?
made in Turkey like they are now. Or wherever.
Made in Hook.
Yeah. With a flourish of his plumbing spanner, my father plumbed in the washing machine. It was filled with dirty clothes, and the requisite amount of Omo, yeah, was poured into the little drawer at the top.
Is that around? I don't think I've seen that for donkey's years.
But apparently, going back to the old days of army barracks, going back to like the 50s and 60s, if a army wife put the Omo box in the window, it signified that the old man was out and she was up for some rumpy pumpy.
Okay.
Apparently so. Just something I've heard.
Is that when window cleaner pops round and says, usual,
that's the one.
I'll pay you
Yeah.
this week.
So, a suitable amount of Omo was poured into the little drawer at the top. The wash was selected and the on button was pressed. We all stood watching. Me, Mum, Dad and my little brother.
Technological marvel of 78.
To be honest, have you never seen one before?
Yeah.
You know,
Top loaders were a thing before that, weren't they?
yeah, well, I bet they had top loaders at laundrette.
Yeah.
Where you don't do it, yeah. We made sounds of wonder as it filled with water. There was an audible gasp as the drum leapt into life, moving back and forth, agitating the soap and water into a foam. My mother clasped her hands to her chest in glee as the machine started to wash in earnest. There's only so long that an entire family can stand watching a washing machine, and before long my dad pulled us all away to the television to watch the latest episode of Get Some In, which he maintained was exactly what the RAF had been like when he was a lad.
I don't even remember Get Some In.
I don't.
We actually
It's before
too
my
young for
time.
for
We are.
something,
Well,
finally.
you've got to bear in mind, I was only born in 1976, so at this time, Jeff's much older.
How old's Jeff?
Older than me. I don't know.
He must be 10 years on you at least to go with this.
Yeah.
Because he's a kid here, isn't he?
I would say he's probably older than me.
55-ish.
So,
Let's go with that.
Let's go with that. I don't know. As we watched the antics of Tony Selby and his crew of Irks, we could hear the faint sounds of our new miracle machine from the kitchen. As the end titles begin to run, the sound from the kitchen changed and something new was heard. A low whirring sound that became higher in pitch. The machine was going into its spin cycle.
Nice.
We all ran back.
No more creel. Get rid of that creel. We don't need that anymore. We've got a spin dryer.
I still have a creel. We all ran back into the kitchen in time to see the drum achieve its maximum velocity. At which point the entire washing machine began to leap up and down, pogoing in the manner of a punk rocker that we'd seen on the television. Punk rockers, yeah, punk rockers. Pogoing. That's good, right? He's got away with words, Jeff.
Yeah,
hasn't he?
it's nicely written. Well done, Jeff.
Eloquent man. With each leap, the machine moved a few inches across the kitchen, making a noise that went ba-dum, 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 ba-dum. So it's got rhythm too.
It's got rhythm. It's got a beat.
Yeah. With the speed of a striking cobra, my dad hit the off switch, and once the drum revolutions had fallen below their maximum, the pogo machine stopped its pogoing.
It's faulty.
Cried Mother.
You'll have to take it back to the shop and get it replaced.
My dad's eyes were looking all around the room, but rather notably they were avoid meeting my mother's.
I can't really do that.
He informed her, after a long and detailed examination of every other part of the kitchen.
You see, it fell off the back of a lorry.
My mother held a hand over her eyes for a moment,
The shame.
and then removing it, she shook her head sadly and returned to her armchair in the front room to seek the solace which can only be found in a park drive and a swig of armadillo sherry.
Wasn't that rated Britain's worst sherry or something once?
I don't know.
Park Drive.
That's a cigarette,
That's,
isn't it?
I don't
Does
think
it?
they sell them anymore, do they?
Park Drive? Park Avenue, wasn't it? Oh, I don't know. It might
Oh,
Park
Park
Drive.
Drive,
Yeah. Where have I got Park Avenue from?
Your
No
address.
Yeah.
You wish.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah. Still relatively inexperienced in the ways of the grey economy, I helpfully suggested that
The fall from the back of the lorry might have damaged the machine in some way.
and in
Innocence of
so
children.
doing, and this is 70s parenting. In so doing, I earned myself an affectionate slap around the head.
Leave me, number one son,
Said father, for that was how he sometimes referred to me.
and let me see if I can puzzle out a solution to this quandary.
To cut a long story short, the plan was cunning in its simplicity. From that day forth, at the sound of the whirring signalling on approach of the spin cycle, a nominated family member would run into the kitchen and leap atop the bucking beast and sit there for the duration of the spin. The ba-dum continued, but by using careful changes to your weight distribution, it was possible to stop the machine from ambulating across the room.
Didn't they have ratchet straps in 70s? I think I'd have belted it down.
I don't know. I will even admit that as I became older, there was even a certain pleasurable aspect involved. However, I missed out on much of this because Mother rather selflessly insisted on doing a lot of the washing when she was the one in the house.
I was going to call Jeff a dirty kimbasser
I
there,
was,
but I
now
think his
it's
mother
in
might
his
have
mum,
been.
yes. Years passed, 10 of them in total, and still the machine
She's
soldiered
still
on.
going
See,
strong.
Still lasted, didn't it?
Mother's kept this
Yeah,
going. She
yeah.
likes this machine now.
Still, every time it went into a spin, the ba-dum of the poor-going hot point was heard throughout the house until one fateful day. On the day in question, my dad was sitting on the machine as it spun. A rare occurrence, as he normally avoided this duty by claiming that it caused the ash to fall off his cigarette prematurely and spoiled the enjoyment of his tobacco. This time, the machine went ba-dum, clang, grind. With the speed of a striking sloth, for time had dulled his ninja-like reflexes, he hit the off switch.
I know that feeling.
The family trooped into the kitchen and stood around looking at the forlorn machine like mourners at a graveside. Ah well, said Mother fondly. Going on Monty Python again. Where in total she must have spent many long hours sitting,
I'm thinking you might have said
stroking the top of the machine. We've had our money's worth out of it. Not necessarily, exclaimed my father. I'm going to try and fix it. Shaking her head, my mother retired to her armchair and an armadillo. Father set about the machine with a will. Actually, with a screwdriver and a spanner, but you know what I mean. And before long, a panel had been removed from the rear of the machine, exposing an obviously broken part. A bar running the width of the machine's interior and bolted into place at each end had sheared in two in the middle, and the loose ends of the bar were clanging and grinding against the drum. Unbolting the two parts of the bar from the interior of the machine, Father held them both aloft. Comet, he said. Comet in Failsworth, a main dealer for hot point machines, and carries a full range of spare parts. I'll have a replacement metal bar from those lads, or I'll know the reason why. I know about this metal bar. I don't think Jeff's dad did he? Running into the front room to grab his car keys, he shouted, "Come on, number one, son, to the Zephyr!" Oh, Zephyr.
Zephyr. See, half of people now are listening going, I know about this metal bar. And other half are going,
What's a Zephyr? Yeah.
what's a Zephyr? Yeah.
Yeah.
Go on.
a wind spirit, I believe, is a Zephyr.
Zephyr. I always admired a Zodiac that I used to walk past on my paper round.
Big
That
old
was nice.
cars. You're coming along to witness my victory over that machine. You know what? He's quite a charismatic man, Jeff's dad,
Well-
isn't he? There's something poetic about him, definitely.
I'm thinking Jeff might be telling a tall story here because he's calling his father Father. Now, anybody in Manchester in the 70s that called Father would get a good kick in at school.
No,
wouldn't they?
because, well, I don't know, but I can't speak for the Mancunians, but over here in Yorkshire, my father were father,
All right.
and my mother were mother.
Okay.
Hey up, mother.
Well, just mum and dad.
Were they?
Yeah. Maybe you were a bit posh.
I don't know. Well, you see, I also noticed, I always looked down on people who had nanas.
Nanas.
I always thought it would a bit. We had grandma. We had a grandma, not a nana.
In defence to this, I have a nana, right?
Does
She
she
did-
need?
She didn't want to be called grandma because it sounded old. But that's because she had my mum at about 23 and my
Yeah.
mum had me about 20.
Oh, they used to start young,
She was
didn't
only
they?
44
Yeah, that's
and she
it.
didn't want to be a grandma, so she chose nana.
I've heard that before as well.
Yeah.
I know. One of my kids have a nana, but they also have a grandma. Grandma on my side.
Okay.
Anyway,
Come on, Jeff, get on with it.
we parked outside Comet, which was upstairs above the Failsworth Morrison supermarket, and as I was bade to remain in the vehicle as my father procured the replacement part, I watched as he walked in through the front door carrying the severed sections of the metal bar, and I watched as he mounted the escalator and vanished from sight. Minutes passed. My father emerged from the doors bent almost double and dangerously red-faced. I rushed to his aid, feeling he had been laid low by being quoted an exorbitantly high replacement part cost. As I drew closer, I realised that what I'd taken as severe consternation was actually hysterical laughter. I slung his arm about my shoulder and helped him to the car, asking what had caused such hilarity. He was unable to answer for a while, and it was several hours later, after many false starts and lapses back into hysteria, that I managed to piece the following together. "Good afternoon, sir," says the clerk behind the counter. "Good afternoon. I wonder if you could help me. I'm looking for one of these," says my father, placing the broken metal bar on the counter. "Why do you want one of these?" asks the clerk. "Are you moving house?" "Moving house?" my father asks. "Have you been sniffing marker pens? Bring me one of these bars at the double." "But sir," explains the clerk, "that's a transit bracket. It's fitted inside the machine to stop the drum getting damaged in transit. I can't understand what you're doing with one, because they're normally removed once the machine's delivered to the shop. If you leave that on the machine and try to use it, then every time it spins, the whole machine goes ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum and bounces all over the room." The machine was reassembled and continued running, outliving both my parents. In 2002, I donated it to a young couple who just got their first flat, and as far as I know, it's still running to this day. I hope
She'll
this
not
is
get
of
as
some-
much pleasure out of it as his mum did. It don't
Yeah.
be dumb anymore.
I hope this is of some use to you. It happened long ago, and my parents are long dead, so there's no need for anonymity. Cheers, Jeff. Fantastic story, Jeff.
Good,
Thank
that,
you,
Jeff,
mate.
thank you.
Yeah,
And
it's
nicely
very-
written as well.
I
Jeff.
noticed he mentioned that Failsworth had a Morrison supermarket. I don't think we had a supermarket around here in the 70s. The only one I can think of, early 80s, there were a Hillards in Brighouse. Do you remember that?
I think earliest one I remember is Quick Save in Elland.
Yeah,
And that's
possibly.
later.
Yeah, no, but there were a Hillards in Brighouse, and we had to go further afield. There used to be an Asda that were like underground at Birkby.
I don't remember that one.
Yeah, but yeah,
Because she's so much older than me. 11 months. So if you want to email in your stories, dirtykimbass@gmail.com. See if you can top Jeff's or Matthew's.
it's bloody Baltic in this shed today. It's actually cold. It's actually colder than it is outside.
It is cold.
Yeah.
But we've only done 32 minutes, so
Well,
I
no,
know
we've got to keep going, aye.
I have a question for you.
Oh, not
I like
another
your
one.
questions.
Yeah, you've got these good questions.
Yeah,
haven't you? Basically, you're trying to illustrate to the world what a Luddite I
Fucking
am.
Luddite you are, yeah.
Yeah.
No, this isn't Luddite-ish, this.
Go on then. Okay.
You've been forgiven now that you sit to shit and you fold. It's
I
okay.
do fold, yeah.
You can stay. Have you ever met anybody famous?
I have.
Or even somebody that's not really famous?
Do you know what? I met Flash Gordon
Flash.
a few years ago.
Fucking hell.
I've met Flash Gordon. Sam J. Jones. They had a Comic Con at Rochdale Town Hall. loads of like geeky people had paid money.
And you.
No, I didn't. They paid money to see him. Obviously, that's what it makes a bit of money going around. And there were other members of the Flash Gordon cast there.
I'm just listening to that water running in
I
the
know,
background. Just tell everyone, that's not Tony taking a piss while he's telling you. That's our last washing up.
So they'd all paid. Now I'm not a Comic Con attendee, but I rocked up going to pub nearby on my Harley. He caught a glimpse of it and made a beeline for me and came up.
Good effort.
And so I was there with other big, scary-looking men on motorcycles. Now he's a big guy. He towers above me. Does this fella?
Right.
You
How
know,
tall are you?
I'm 6 foot.
You take right. So
And
you're taller than
this
me.
guy, he's got to be nearly 7 foot. He's and well built for an old chap as well, because he's what, 25 years older than me.
80 then.
He's got to be pushing that way. he's got to be. He's got to be. I bet he's older than me dad. And we started having a chat, and because all these like nerdy types were like wanting to talk to him and have the picture taken with him and stuff like that, but they daren't come close because of these scary biker types in leather and noisy motorcycles. And I started talking to me, and he has a Harley himself, you know. We had a little bit in common. And he was quite a humble man, and he was telling me, and so this is what you do for a living nowadays and stuff. And he says, well, actually, he says, you know what I'm doing these days? He says, I'm doing a bit for Border Patrol.
Where at?
Well, on California,
Right, okay.
Mexican,
Southern, right, okay,
southern
Mexico,
border down that
yeah,
way.
yeah.
And he said, all right, so yeah. And then I'd do these comic cons. It's nice, bit funny. Now then, a film came out later, and he got cameo appearances, and he kind of resurrected his career a bit. So after that, I think he went back to sort of films and things like that. But it was quite interesting to talk to. And do you know what? I liked him.
Good.
I liked the guy. There was another guy, oik of a man. I didn't recognise him. So he says to me, do you want a picture taken? And I says, yeah, you go. We'll have a photograph. I'll, show it to kids. They didn't know who we were.
No.
But I had my picture taken, and there's a little guy trying to get a photo. And I says, oi, fuck off. And anyway, it was only later that somebody told me who this other guy was. Do you remember the Blue Peter presenter? Peter
Yeah.
Duncan.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Well, Peter Duncan were in Flash Gordon, wasn't he? One of them, like the Prince of the Bird people or something like that. I can't remember what role he was, like some kind of... Because Timothy Dalton were in it as some kind of like leotard-clad Robin Hood type archer, wasn't he? Brian Blessed was like King of the Birdmen.
I'd love to have a chat.
Gordon's alive! That guy,
No, hang on. Gordon's alive!
that stuff like that.
Yeah.
And there were a bit of crumpet in it. There were lots of there was some fanny in that film. Are we allowed to say that? All right, well, we said it. But yeah, so Peter Duncan, I didn't recognise him. He's as bald as you are. Bald as a coop.
Bald, it's
Bald
just
as
a
a
short
coop.
back and side, you bastard.
Bald as a... And I didn't recognise him. So he didn't get it photo anyway. I'm like, oi, fuck off. Get out it shot. And he's like, oh, all right. Poor lad. So, sorry, Mr. Duncan. I didn't know it were you.
Yeah, fuck off.
No, apparently he's a right nice lad as well, because he went on to do something with Scouts, didn't he, Peter Duncan, and things like that for a while. He were it Chief Scout?
I don't know. I thought you were going for like an arrestable thing with scouts.
No. Like I think it was something to do with Scouts, and unless my memory plays me false, but probably a decent bloke. And I'm sorry for that. I just didn't know who you were. I thought you were some randomer trying to get in my picture with Flash Gordon.
Mine are a bit crap.
Go on then. Who've you met then?
Well, pretty much nobody. If I met somebody that's famous these days, I probably wouldn't recognise them because I'm quite distanced from.
I am.
World,
I am as well.
I think this one were in Emmerdale. Melandra Burrows.
Oh, she fancies herself a bit.
Blondie.
Yeah.
And we mentioned before, I were in Boys Brigade, and local production company decided it'd be a good idea to grab several local Boys Brigade groups to fill stage.
Didn't she used to write for Halifax Evening Courier? Didn't she have a column in Halifax Evening Courier at one point?
God knows.
Oh,
I haven't
yeah.
read a Courier since I was about 13.
Oh.
So we were on a theatre in Halifax, and it were Oliver. So there weren't a load of urchins, you know. So one of the lads at ours, and I forget his name, got the role as Oliver because we all wanted to be Oliver. And then,
Was it a musical?
yeah,
I hate it already.
yeah, I did, yeah. But everybody wanted to be Oliver. But actually, when you think about it, they were just picking the most urchin-looking kid. So, actually, you were wanting to
Yeah, so
look your worst.
if you looked like you had typhoid.
yeah. If you look at a sickly little thing, then you so yeah, this lad got bang, a cough out.
What was that? That tumbled wire off at road.
We're dumb. Yeah. So we did that, and we got on stage, and because you're only like 8 years old or something, you're jostling for position to be next to this famous person. You know what I mean? And yeah, no, I'm shitting it. Theatre story I mentioned before.
Yeah.
I once answered phone to one at Nolan Sisters,
All right.
but I don't know which one it is. There's about 12 of them, isn't there?
Colleen.
Again,
Colleen? No, I don't know.
was there a Linda? I don't know. Anyway, yeah, there's about 12 of them. So I
A
don't
bit
know.
before my time at Nolan's, really.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
And I think given that they were playing at Halifax Theatre, we're probably after their time.
I was listening to radio the other day, and they played the Osmonds, and it were that they're odd bands, the Osmonds, because they were Mormon boys from Utah, weren't they? From Salt Lake City, Mormon boys in a boy band,
Right.
and so this like 70s boy band, and they had a track called Crazy Horses. You know the one?
Yeah.
Crazy Horses. Wah! That one, yeah.
Yeah.
And when you think about
It's this new jingle now. We're having that.
It's I think we've been breaching copyright. But when you think about it, that's a heavy metal song, isn't it?
is,
It's
yeah.
heavy metal sung by a 70s boy band in white suits.
Mm.
You know, it's not like anything else they did.
No, it don't fit, does it?
But and yet it were a hit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, are you ready for my big, but arguably most famous?
Go on then.
David Bellamy.
David Bellamy.
David Bellamy.
Wow.
He did a nature talk at West Vale at Clay House. Used to be at Nature Trail. And I went down with my autograph book. I got his autograph. You know, pointless. What are autographs about? No idea. And then they went through Nature Walk, and I went, nah, fuck, that's a long walk. I'm not doing that. And I went,
I bet you were a nice guy.
he probably was.
He probably were a nice
He was probably
fella.
really interested if I'd have
Yeah.
not been 8, 9-year-old and paid attention. So come home, and there's always a bit of one-upmanship when you're a kid, isn't there? You know, so it's my mate next door. So got David Bellamy's autograph. And he went, I want that.
Oh, I didn't get an autograph. I got a photograph.
Yeah, he said, I want that. So he grabs this book, runs off to Clay House Park. He's gone. Tough shit.
Brilliant.
Because we always had a bit of one-upmanship at, like, you know, better bike or
Yeah.
better computer or, you know, yeah. So for me to have a bit of ink on some paper.
Yeah,
Or an-
I never saw appeal of collecting autographs. I've got a friend who's really into it. He collects like, and he likes to have like he gets like autographed boxing gloves and likes to have a
right,
photograph with them and display them and things like that. He's really into it. But to me, it's a squiggle with a marker pen. Could be anyone.
Yeah.
So I'd rather have my photo taken.
I don't know what happened
But
to this
I've not
book.
met many famous people. Although, do you know what? She used to be quite pretty. I'm trying to remember her name. She used to be
Way
in
to big a
Coron-
girl up.
was
She
in-
used to be pretty.
She used to be in Coronation Street. Sarah Lancashire. And I once filled
Picture her.
and I once filled up my car at petrol station at Artshead Moor,
Right.
and she were filling up her car at the next pump.
Yeah.
And I recognised her, but didn't know why I recognised her. Like I didn't like think, oh, that's you off telly. I thought, I know you from
Did we go
somewhere.
to school together?
Like, I'm
Yeah.
like, well, she's a little older than me, I think, and I mean, she was very pretty. So I didn't know really what to say, and I just like looking at her, and I thought, I'm sure I know you from somewhere. And she looked over, saw me looking, and she smiled. So I just smiled and winked and said, hiya. And she says, hiya. You know,
Like neighbours.
it were ages later when it twigged who it was. And I just didn't recognise her. Like, well, I didn't like recognise where I'd seen her from.
Yeah.
So it was like I'm thinking, like, I don't know. Did you maybe used to work on a naffy on an army barracks, something like that, or in laundrette?
I've just thought of another one that I used to deliver his paper. Richard Thorpe, who plays Alan Turner in
Oh,
Emmerdale.
well, he used to knock around in this area quite a
He
lot,
lived at
didn't he? He
Barkisland.
did. He
Yeah.
had Barkisland Hall for a while,
That's
didn't
it.
he? That's
I
right.
don't know if he still does, but I used to take his paper, and he had these bloody big dogs that used to come running out. But they were soft as shit, but they were quite a sight and quite intimidating, bounding towards you. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I understand that Barkisland Hall were also owned briefly by Sylvester Stallone, who
Really? Right.
bought it on like a whim, thinking, what a fantastic old country house this
Yeah,
is, and then never lived in it and then sold it.
He probably saw it weather forecast and went, oh,
You know, like never lived in it and sold it or something like that. I don't know if that's true. It was just something I was told.
a legend.
Yeah, a local legend. So that is Sylvester
It would have
Stallone.
been pretty cool having him local, wouldn't it?
I quite like the fella. The Rocky films are some of my favourite films.
Yeah.
So, dirtykimbasser@gmail.com if you've got any amusing stories for us. For example, like Jeff's with his mother getting sexual gratification from a washing
From a
machine
stolen
for,
washing machine.
10 years.
Now, I've got a story. It wasn't emailed in. This is a workmate, a railwayman, 30 years. And he told me a few stories the other day, so I'm going to tell a couple of them because they were tickling. Because railway stories, I've said before, a lot of them are relatable, you know.
Yeah, I get that.
So there's no point telling them. 1% of people will get it. But this one's pretty good. He started as a chef, did Tony. Shit name.
It's a name of champions. It's the name of your king.
He says this fella called Dave used to work on buffet thing.
All right, yeah.
He says, and Dave was one of these, like when the customer service is so bad that it's just poetry in motion, you know?
Yeah.
He was one of them. And there's nothing pissed Dave off more than people coming for a 95p coffee with a 10 or £20 note, so that when they got down to London, they had change for a taxi. So,
Yeah, in fairness, I understand him perfectly. I think he's being a twat because you don't want to go to London, right, and hand over a 10 or £20 note, and for that taxi driver to give the old, I'm not sure I've got change for that. Bollocks, you southern softy, give me my bloody change.
you're not having me tenner,
You're not
you
having,
bastard, yeah.
you know, I'll give you a small tip, but you're not keeping a fiver.
but after 14th customer that day doing this to him, he was fast running out of change every time, you know. So this Dave got a bee in his bonnet. So he went off to the bank and changed a couple of £100 for 5p's. And then little plastic cups,
Yeah.
he counted out £1 into each one and got them ready.
I like this fella.
So somebody come and ordered a cup of tea. Dave makes his cup of tea. That's 95p, please. Fella pulls out a £20 note. And Dave puts 5p down. And he goes, £95. And then tips these cups onto the counter. He goes, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's like
A mound of coin on a rocking train.
there's about 12 kilos worth of 5p's sat on counter, and you can see second man in queue putting this tenner back in his pocket, reaching into his pockets looking for some change. And this guy's going, I can't take that. And Dave went, next.
British Rail customer service.
Beautiful, isn't it? Yeah, beautiful. So Dave the coffee seller
Fantastic.
got his sweet revenge on these businessmen because it were a London trip as well, yeah.
Yeah.
Because they used to do in the morning, it were Leeds, Wakefield, London. No in
There's
between.
only one redeeming thing about that though. Like, I mean, it's a bit of a twattish thing to do, but on that London commute, there's not going to be a single person on that train that I like anyway.
No, true, yeah. And after a few weeks, there'll not be a single person on there that don't have change.
Yeah. Ah, yeah.
You know?
You'd soon learn, wouldn't you?
Yeah. So another one that happened on this one, there was a guy that went down every morning without fail, and he sat in the same seat.
Creature of habit.
Very much creature of habit.
There's nothing wrong with that.
So this day, this guy gets on, and he goes to throw his bag in overhead shelf thing, and looks down. There's a guy in his seat.
It could happen.
Yeah. Anyway, that's my seat. And the guy sat there with his muesli on his little fold down shelf and his coffee in his hand. And oh, there's plenty of other seats. So just pick another one. He said, no, I go down here every morning and I sit in that seat. The guy says, well, today you're not. Tough shit.
I've got to say, it wouldn't upset me. This would not upset me.
You know.
Like someone would. Even if I was a creature of habit. You know,
No, don't bother me.
But yeah.
So this guy flips the guy's coffee on him out of his hand. Toof. all over him, spilled all
Really?
over him, scalding coffee.
So the guy's an arsehole,
Yeah,
basically,
yeah.
isn't he? Then that's...
Spins on his heel and starts marching off down carriage to find another seat. And coffee spilt man goes, no, 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 no.
We're not having that.
We're not having that. Picks up his bowl of muesli, chases him down carriage, and dunks straight on his head. So, it's lovely, isn't it?
Food fight on a
Fucking
train.
love it. Grown ass men, you know. Fucking ridiculous.
To be fair, if you'd have flipped my coffee, I'd have knocked him the fuck
Oh,
out.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
So there is that. They'd have been calling transport police.
Well, this is what happened then. Because they'd just left Wakefield, next stop's London, they had to get a special stop order at Doncaster. Police took them both
Big
away.
you can get big fines. Would there have been CCTV then? Because
No.
I've got to say, I've got
Not early on
to
that.
have sympathy with coffee spilled guy
Yes.
rather than coffee spiller.
And I would call that dealt with.
Yeah.
You know? I'd call that dealt with.
Yeah,
Well,
to
alright.
be honest, had I been a copper, I would have been inclined to not follow it up. There's better things to do, isn't there?
Yeah, yeah. I'd
know.
call that dealt with, but there you go.
Not that I'd ever be a copper.
No.
You know.
The third and final story Tony told me, his dad were a driver, so he's second generation really.
Is it right?
And back then nobody worked at Leeds, you worked at Holbeck or you worked at Neville Hill depots, and you picked a train from a depot and then went into service. So his dad had run pieces of shit cars for years and years and years, and eventually he went, I'm going to buy a new car.
Wow.
So, you know,
Nice treat. We've said this before. New cars are a nice
Yeah.
treat for a man, even if it's not new. If it's new to you.
yes. So he bought a brand new Maestro.
Oh, I remember
Right.
Austin Maestro.
Yeah, yeah. So
They used to rot for fun though, didn't they?
yeah, yeah. So Tony's dad wasn't too chuffed with this Maestro because it leaked around windscreen. Luckily only around edges, like, but you know, a lot. So he took it back a couple of times and he was getting a bit pissed off with this Maestro. And they sorted it eventually. And he went to work in it. He's like, yeah, I got bloody car fix. I told him, yeah.
Yeah.
So while he's off driving his train for the day, his mates decide to pour half a gallon of old train oil under his car. And he comes back from his trip, like, come back here. Here, John, that's your new Maestro there, isn't it? Yes. What the fuck is all that oil doing underneath it? Oh, fucking... Back to garage with it. They let him go, full rage. Down to garage with it, give him all the right fucking. And she said that not only did they pour it underneath, they smeared it all over the bottom of the engine as well. You know, so
it was smoking a bit and twats.
Poor bastards at Austin garage are trying to find this oil leak. Serves them right for making a shit car though.
Well, to be honest, a buddy of mine, he had a bike and he's showing it off in this car park, and his mates are there and he's revving it, and one of his mates says, "What's that noise? It's getting louder." And another mate has got two spanners behind his back, knocking them together. And he's like, "I've only just bought it. Do you think I bought a dog?" You know?
Beautiful. Yeah, that's what mates are for.
Yeah, of course they are.
Yeah.
And we better wrap up then, because we sat here and I've been watching you for the last 10 minutes and we're
Shaking.
shivering.
I am actually
It's bloody
shaking,
freezing
yeah.
in here, isn't it?
So I'll just do this little last one because while Tony's telling me these stories, a passenger gets on and tells me a story randomly. Right, beautiful. Says he asked where train we're going. That's all it was, and then he started telling us randomly. He said he lived in Sheffield and he was doing his degree in Doncaster. So he didn't go stay at student digs. He
Commuted, okay.
Yeah. So he's doing his dissertation, and he basically left it last minute. He's spending all night, and he said he was starting to print the beginning of it, whilst he was still writing the conclusion. It was that last minute, you know.
Right.
So he's off down for first train. It won't be first train, would it? First train to get him to uni for 9 o'clock. Students do the morning, do they?
I don't know.
So down to Sheffield station with his headphones on, jumps on train. Then there's an announcement that he don't hear.
Because he got his headphones in.
He's got his headphones on. Front portion is going to Doncaster, and back portion's going to Stockport. So, unbeknown to him, he sat on Stockport half,
Right.
and his dissertation has to be handed in that morning, like 10 o'clock deadline, you know. Train sets off, sits there, headphones. I didn't notice it set off backwards, I don't know. So he rung his tutor from Stockport. They got all the way there. You're not going to believe this. You know, his tutor says, get station manager to sign it and date it and time it, saying that you were there, and we'll accept it and get back on train and come back and hand it in. And yeah, he said they're legit with it. He said, but from now on, he says, he makes sure he's on right train before he puts his bloody headphones in. And quite a common thing to happen, actually. I've regular had this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't actually travel by peasant carriage, being a king.
Don't you have your own train?
I have my own carriage.
Train Force One.
Yeah. I don't actually. The reason I don't use the train that much is because, to be honest, I quite like trains, but I just don't really ever have the opportunity or the reason to get on one. If you're with me, but I ought to travel by train more. I might take the kids on a train when we can. You know,
When
just
we can,
have a
yeah.
see, just have a
Going out of house. Remember that?
yeah. Anyway,
Let's wind
Let's
up
wrap
because
up.
it's -4.
dirtykinbasser@gmail.com.
Yeah. Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram.
I think I've lost a couple of toes today.
/Dirty Kimbasser. Any of them. Anchor.fm /Dirty Kimbasser.
Or just search for us on Spotify.
Yeah, you could leave us a voice recording on Anchor.
Can you?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's clever.
It's posh as
Oh,
that.
it's high.
So if you tell a good tale and you want to record it on Anchor and send it us, we could have you read it out on podcast instead of us reading your email out. So
Did you like me dad joke? I think Dad Joke Friday might be becoming a thing.
Oh,
The one where I said that I've developed a new medical condition where I can't help but deny that popular bands from the 70s, 80s and 90s exist. There is no cure.
do you remember I said you bring nothing to this podcast?
I think Dad Joke Friday's got to be a thing now. My kids hate me. They want to move out.
So thanks for listening. End of episode 6.
Yeah, we'll see you next time.
Just draw a line
Oh,
under that before we start
You'll
losing
hear us
pieces
next
because it
time.
is so cold.
yeah.
Bye bye.
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 Bye.